Hi guys, welcome back to the Three Amigos channel. I haven't seen you guys for some time, but first of all, a very Merry Christmas to you all and a Happy New Year. So with the New Year coming around the corner, what better time to reward yourself or your loved ones with a new Leica M digital camera. So as a Leica shooter for past 5 years, I've had the privilege of owning or shooting with pretty much all the Leica digital M cameras in the current lineup. Now, whilst camera technology has progressed tremendously in the past few years, especially in the realm of mirrorless cameras, unfortunately, this is not really the case for Leica M. And whilst there have been significant upgrades in terms of the sensor, I think people delve into the world of Leica rangefinders because there's a certain nostalgia and a certain satisfaction in shooting with an M body. There's an affinity for manual focusing, a desire to use a minimalist design, and an intention to slow down. As I like to put it, I'd like to strip photography down to its core. So, unlike other brands, the M mount has been around for more than 70 years, and you can rest assured that it's going to stick around for the next 70 years as well. So the great thing, because the Leica M experience has been quite constant over the past few years, while there's been significant upgrades in terms of the sensor, it also means that you don't have to fork out a lot of money to buy the latest and greatest M digital body in order to experience the Leica M. Instead, I always tell people, save the money of buying a new Leica camera and spend it on a better lens or a holiday or an experience that will really allow you to use the camera and improve your skills. Furthermore, I think there are actually certain quirks to these older cameras which people may enjoy. So, I'm going to go through the cameras one by one from the newest to the oldest, breaking them down one by one in hope that you can get a better understanding of which camera you should get based on your budget, needs, and desires. Now, for the sake of this video, because I'm aiming at new Leica users, I'm not going to assume that you're in the market for the specialty cameras like the M11 monochrome or the M11D, because those are quite unique cameras in itself and deserve to be reviewed separately. Now, first of all, if money is no option and you want to buy the latest and greatest camera and you can't accept buying an older camera, by all means go for the M11P. Now, the M11P list price, new, is only about $200 more than the current M11, which was released almost more than 2 years ago. And if we compare the M11P to the M11, you don't have the red dot logo on the front anymore. It features a 256 gig of internal memory compared to the 64 gig on the M11. And if digital authenticity is important to you, you can also get the world's first camera capable of verifying digital authentication. It also gets an improved sapphire crystal glass LCD screen, though I must say all the Leica M LCD screens have been quite robustly built. But if you want to save a bit of cash and you can find a good secondhand M11, because these prices have been dropping, especially after with the release of the M11 Glossy Black, then by all means go for the M11. You can probably save $2,000 to $3,000 compared to the M11P. And I don't think that the price difference between a used M11 and a new M11P is significant enough to justify those upgrades that I've mentioned previously. That being said, if you want to buy a black paint camera, which is something that's very much desired amongst different Leica shooters, then by all means go for the M11 Glossy Black. Now, I think the biggest debate that people will have is actually between the M11 and the M10 generation of cameras. Now, before I go into it, let's first highlight a few significant major differences between them. First of all, on the M10, you have a 24 megapixel CMOS sensor versus the 60 megapixel backside illuminated sensor on the M11. On the M11, you get an improved dynamic range, about 14 stops versus 13 stops in the M10, and you get on average about 1 to 2 stops of better low light performance. Now, one of the most significant upgrades of the M11, what I believe, is the improved battery life. I think within one M11 battery, it compares to 2 to 3 M10 batteries. In terms of the usability, we have the integration of a USB-C charging, which allows you to charge on the go in your car or with a power bank. There's also the introduction of internal storage, so it allows for a double backup, or in case if you forget your SD card, you can shoot as well. There's improved LCD resolution, GPS tagging, and there's also much faster interaction and user experience with the Leica Photos apps. Now, whilst those are all great reasons to upgrade, to me personally, they really haven't been deal breakers for me. I own both the M10, M10P, M10R, and I've also used the M11 monochrome as well, and also shot with the M11. Now, whilst the Leica M10 is almost 8 years old, when it was launched back in 2017, I think there's still plenty of reasons as to why the M10 is probably the best valued all-rounded M camera. Which is also why I actually prefer to use the M10R as my main camera as well. Now, first of all is the price. M10 or any M10 camera has pretty much plateaued in price over the past 2 or 3 years. You can find them anywhere 4,000 and above, and they're going for almost half the price of what they sold when they were new. And the great thing about this is that it means that you can buy an M10 today and sell it 1 year later if it's something that is not for you or you want to upgrade. So you probably lose close to nothing, whereas we can see the M11 price continue to fall. Now, with the money that you save with the M10 purchase, you can easily buy a few more batteries, and when I'm traveling overseas, I think packing the M10 charger is not much of an issue. Now, in terms of the camera sensor and resolution, whilst more megapixels are great and it does allow you to crop more to a certain extent, but I personally don't find myself cropping a lot in the photos that I shoot, and to be honest, 24 megapixel for me is more than enough, and it's quite the sweet spot and should be sufficient for most people unless you are printing very, very big photos. But in real life situations, I think most people are viewing the images on, not too big photos, or most of people are actually just viewing on their digital devices. So I won't say that the difference will be noticeably better in terms of a real life using experience. Now, there's another argument saying that you won't be able to actually make the most out of the 60 megapixel sensor unless you're shooting with modern day APO or Sumilux lenses. Now, personally, I don't know if this is true, and I'll probably explore this in a future video, but if you have an answer, please do let us know down in the comments below. Another thing about the M11, which I've heard both from friends who've used it as well as from different reviews and online forums, is that the M11 has a bit of a magenta cast, which requires a minor tweak in Lightroom or in your photo profiles that you shoot with. Now, whilst this may not be an absolute deal breaker and it's something that can be easily adjusted in post, it may bother those people who want that sort of straight out of camera look, though I know that even this can be adjusted in your in-camera settings as well. Another thing is that the startup time on the M11 is longer than the M10, which sometimes in the realm of street photography may be the difference between a keeper or a miss street photo. Now, one way of getting around this is because with the improved battery life, I know that most M11 shooters probably leave their cameras on standby mode, but that is something to take note as well. For the M10, some people call this the last film-inspired digital M camera with the base plate. Whilst I think it's more of a reminiscing thing, I can imagine some situations where it may be more useful, because in case you do scratch your camera, you can just change the base plate if you need. But that being said, having used both the M10 and M11, I actually don't really miss the base plate, and I do enjoy shooting with the M11 with a quick access to the batteries and things like that. Now, so for these various reasons, I do think that the M10 presents itself as a very feasible alternative to the M11, and if that's something that you wish to explore with a lower budget, by all means go for the M10. That's a camera that you definitely won't regret trying, and in worst case, you can easily sell it on the secondary market and you won't lose much money. Now, if we step one generation further, then this would be the M240, and it's probably probably more than $1,000 cheaper than the M10 in the current market. But personally speaking, before I go into the details of the M10 or the M240, I do think that the M10 is actually worth the extra price difference for several reasons. Now, the M240 does shoot 1080 video, although I believe most Leica shooters won't be buying the M240 for video. Another good thing is that there is a black paint version that's quite easily available, and the battery life on the M240 was also excellent as well. It does feature the same 24 megapixel CMOS sensor, but I would say that in terms of real life usage, it shoots up to 6400 ISO, but I would say there's about a 2 to 3 stop difference between the M240 and the M10. The M240 also has a smaller rangefinder. The M10 is about 30% bigger, so it is a bit easier to focus and shoot on the M10. With the M10, you also get the Wi-Fi Leica Photos app, so that's a slight additional benefit to the M10. But overall, I think the M240 is just a slightly older camera, and with both cameras reaching a sort of plateau price, I think if you can fork out a little bit more cash for the M10, I do think that you would enjoy the M10 experience over the M240, but the M240 is still a great camera nonetheless. Now, when it comes to the M9 is a bit of a specialty camera. A lot of my friends or old timers say that the M9 is sort of a prodigal son in the Leica M world. It features a CCD 18 megapixel sensor. I've owned both the M9 and the M9M, so I can testify that it is indeed a camera with a great sensor. One thing to note when buying an M9 is the issue of the sensor erosion. So make sure that you buy a M9 that has its sensor replaced, or be expected to make sure if the sensor is not replaced, then this should significantly affect the price of the M9 that you buy. The M9, I must say, gives quite a film-like experience. You can't really shoot burst mode on this camera. It has a beautiful digital shutter sound, and because the LCD screen is quite old, I must say that you won't really use the LCD screen to check focus or things like that, but it just gives you a general understanding of the exposure and the composition of your photo. I must say it's the most film-like digital experience, and I do love my M9s, although I've actually sold both because I decided to try the M11. So I would say I do miss the photos that come out from the M9 sensor. And again, a lot of people will say that the photos you take with the M9 have a very unique CCD film-like look, but in different testings and real life reviews that I've watched, it's not really something that you can't tweak in post. And so I would say it's something that's really down to sort of personal preference, and it's really on a make or break deal for me in terms of the sort of CCD look. Now, do bear in mind that with the M9, because it's really a much older camera, you can expect a lot more mechanical faults that can potentially happen. Mine had issues reading the battery sometimes, and so it can be a hit or miss experience. But I know that there are a lot of Leica M9 users who are still very happy with their camera, and I would also personally quite highly recommend the M9 if that's something you want to try. And most people who I know who've owned the M9 really don't regret owning or using the M9. So I think all in all, in terms of comparing the M11, M10, M240, M9, there's really no wrong purchase when it comes to Leica M cameras. I think they're all just really well built, and you definitely get a very, very good experience when you're using the Leica M camera. But just know that for me, personally speaking, I don't think having a Neo M11 camera definitely makes you a better photographer. Again, remember that gear is just secondary to the photographer, right? So don't get too hung up with gear, but really focus on like the shooting experience. And let me know what you guys think about 2025 and things what are we hoping to expect from the new Leica M. So again, I hope you guys have a good new year, and for those who are new, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more Leica news.